remember what I was going to say. Okay, so here's the thing. So anyway, let's say Jesus had Satan in his pocket because the house divided cannot stand. I don't know where Jesus got Satan from at the Last Supper, but apparently, yeah. Let's not question he's the master. Where he probably got him off the other. What I don't even know. Jesus found Satan somewhere along the way. Found him. Like there's a lot of stories about Jesus we don't know. I haven't seen the Chosen and the secret scrolls that they've uncovered that they put in the Chosen movie. So I haven't seen the Last Supper. They probably have some information telling me where Satan came from. Like where did Jesus get him? Like was was he in Jesus' pocket? Was he in the other room? Did he knock at the door? There was a knock at the door, and we don't know about it. And like nobody saw Jesus, and Jesus moved through the apostles, and he blinded them, and then he opened up the door and let Satan in, and then he jumped him into Judas. Was Judas in Jesus's? Did Jesus have? I don't even know. Like he was like David Copperfield, nothing up, no Satan up my sleeve, right? But Satan actually was up his sleeve. Right, he'd been hiding him up his sleeve like David Copperfield. He's like, now I'm David Copperfield. Then he jumps him into Judas. Anyway, let's just say that. So Judas goes off and he betrays him for 30 pieces of silver. But here's the thing, here's the problem. If you read the prophecy, right, it doesn't say, like in the prophecy, it's God actually saying, you paid me 30 pieces of silver. What a princely sum that you paid me. So where they messed up on the prophecy, Judas isn't the one who's supposed to get paid the 30 pieces of silver. Jesus is actually supposed to get paid the 30 pieces of silver. Because what God's actually saying, he's saying, I'm the one who got pierced. You just paid me 30 pieces of silver. Here, why don't you go ahead and take that and you take it on down to the potter and have them make the clay for you. Because what God's saying, because you got to read all of Isaiah, not just the parts that you like. What God says, and he says it in Jeremiah, he says, am I not the potter? Do I not make the clay? Are you going to argue with me about how I make my pottery? You're going to tell me how I form the clay, how I do these things? So then he's saying later on in Isaiah, what he's saying is, he's like, 30 pieces of silver because you didn't like my pottery, so you went and made up this Christianity thing? Why don't you just keep it? Take it on down to Pottery Barn and buy yourself your own pottery. And don't worry about me. I won't make the pottery for you anymore because apparently you can do it on your own. That's what that prophecy is actually saying. It's not saying that Judas gets 30 pieces of silver. If Jesus was actually God, they'd actually pay him 30 pieces of silver, and he'd go down to and throw it to the pot. Not the other way around. Judas isn't supposed to get the 30 pieces of silver. You guys don't even have the prophecy right. Well, God is the one who's God's complaining. He's like, what a princely sum, because God's the king. He's like, and because Satan's the prince that you paid the 30 pieces of silver to. He's like, what a princely sum. God's like, I'm the king of everything. And he's like, what he says, he's like, are you sure? Are you sure you want to give me 30 pieces of silver? This is what I'm worth? Here, why don't you just keep it and take it on down to Pottery Barn and go buy yourself some pottery? Because I'm the potter and I make the clay, but you guys want to make your own clay. That's what it's saying. It's not saying Judas. That's the other reason Christianity is like all this.